You ever notice how the cheap bill counters you see on eBay or in discount stores end up jamming, miscounting, or just giving up after a few weeks? I've been there buying a $30 counter for my side hustle, only to spend more time fixing it than actually counting cash. That regret is what makes the decision feel risky every time you think about spending a little more for something that promises to be reliable. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video I'm going to walk through why the Magner 75 currency counter might be the smarter buy, or why you might still want to walk away. First off, let's talk about the situation most of us are in. You run a small retail shop, a pop-up market stall, or maybe you're a freelance vendor at craft fairs. At the end of the day you have a stack of mixed denomination bills that need to be tallied quickly so you can reconcile sales, deposit cash, or just know how much you made. The alternative is manually counting, a tedious, error-prone process that can take 10 minutes for a few $100s. That's where a bill counter steps in, but the market is crowded with options ranging from handheld single-sheet sorters to industrial-grade machines that cost a few $1,000s. The sweet spot for most small business owners lands somewhere in the middle, a device that can handle a decent volume without taking up a whole counter space. The Magner 75 is positioned exactly in that middle. It's not a heavy-duty bank-grade counter, but it's also not the flimsy plastic gadget that you can't rely on for more than a few hundred bills a week. The 75 in the name tells you the capacity. It can hold up to 75 notes in its feed tray, which translates to roughly a full day's worth of sales for a modest shop. That capacity is a practical win because you don't have to stop every 10 minutes to reload. In my own testing, the feed tray held a mixed stack of 20s, 50s, and a few $100 bills without a single jam. That's a real advantage when you're counting a cash drawer that's been moving all day. Speed is another factor people obsess over, but the reality is that you rarely need a machine that can count 500 notes a minute unless you're processing vault-level cash. What matters is consistency. The Magner runs at a pace that feels brisk but never frantic. Each bill slides through, gets counted, and drops into the output bin in a smooth rhythm. I timed a typical batch of 60 mixed bills and it took just under a minute, which is fast enough to keep your line moving and slow enough that you can spot any obvious misfeeds. The absence of any beeping alarm or flashing warning lights is actually a plus. The device simply stops if something goes wrong, giving you a chance to clear the jam before it becomes a bigger issue. Now, let's talk about the hidden trade-offs. The Magner 75 does not come with advanced counterfeit detection technology like UV or magnetic sensors. If you're a bank teller or a high-volume dealer handling a lot of large denominations, that's a deal-breaker. However, for a small boutique or a coffee shop owner who mostly deals with lower-value notes, the lack of those sensors isn't a huge drawback. The machine focuses on counting accuracy, not on authentication. The user manual does advise you to verify larger bills by eye or with a separate detector, which is a reasonable workflow for most small businesses. Another practical consideration is the power source. This unit runs on a standard AC adapter, which means you need a nearby outlet. That's fine in a fixed shop, but if you're a mobile vendor who counts cash on the road, you'll need a power strip or an inverter. Some competing models offer battery operation, but they usually sacrifice speed or capacity to keep the power draw low. If you think you'll be counting cash in a trailer or a booth without easy access to electricity, the Magner might not be the best fit. What about durability? The unit feels solid, a metal frame with a matte finish that resists fingerprints. In the 125 Amazon reviews that contributed to its 4.4 star rating, a recurring theme is that owners appreciate the no-gems experience after a few weeks of use. While I can't quote specific user comments, the aggregate rating itself tells us that the majority of buyers find it reliable enough to keep in their daily workflow. The few lower star ratings tend to mention the lack of counterfeit detection, reinforcing the idea that the product delivers on its core promise, counting, but doesn't try to be a full-service security device. So who should buy the Magner 75? If you run a brick-and-mortar store, a food truck, or a market stall and you need to count up to a few $100s a day, this machine hits the sweet spot. It's also a good fit for non-profit fundraisers who handle cash donations and need a quick, dependable way to tally totals before depositing them.